So, hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Physical Therapy Private Practice Secrets of the Top 10%. My name is Brian Gallagher. I'm your host. And this week we do have a guest featured speaker, somebody who you're going to want to write the name down, get an autograph from. You're going to want to recall this moment in time where you say, I remember when I heard Ross Young talk about clinical notes AI and everything it can do for physical therapists in our profession as of today. And I am going to be like the gatekeeper of reality. And I already told Ross I was going to do that. So he won't be offended by me interrupting or asking point blank questions. So, all of you guys listening, let you know we already got this worked out. I'm going to try to play the hat and or wear the hat and be in the position of all of you guys listening in terms of being a physical therapy private practice owner and saying to yourself, why should I change from what I'm doing now? What is the benefit to my practice, to my staff, to myself as an owner, as a clinician? Look, the world is quickly evolving and revolving and evolving and all of the above. We need to get out in front of it. And that's why I said you're going to want to remember this moment in time meeting Ross Young and what he's currently doing, because I really think they're on the cusp of being ahead of the dog sleds of physical therapy care and really providing the care and ingenuity and technology that we need. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to kick it over to Ross. I would love it, Ross, if you could just tell people a little bit about your company's early beginnings, founders, who's the kingpins or the key players in the organization as we sit today, and then kick it back to me, and we're going to talk through what Clinical Notes AI is, what it can do for people, how does it work, and then special feature for all of y'all watching on YouTube, and for those of you listening on Spotify or any other podcast channel, you're going to want to flip over to YouTube and see this video, because we're going to do a live demo. We're going to live demo this thing out. I'm going to be the PT. We're going to do a pain management assessment, and we're going to show you how this thing can actually take a conversation in a treatment room through Zoom into an actual clinical note. So you're going to get to see that right before your eyes. So Ross, without any further ado, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, early beginnings, what brought you to starting this company and who you started it with, and catch us up to today, July of 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, first I just want to say thanks for having me on and ready to have a really honest conversation about AI. We're excited to challenge this technology. Like any technology needs to be challenged in reality, and we're going to have some fun with it. So appreciate that. So yeah, I'm Ross Young, CEO and co-founder at Clinical Notes AI. And we're helping tens of thousands of clinicians across the physical and behavioral health domains, and founded the company about a year and a half ago. Essentially, I've been in AI and behavioral health and physical health technology for around 13 years. And the access to care problem is massive, as well as the clinician burnout rate. And as I saw clinicians burning out, with my AI experience, decided to build a minimal viable product that could help do simple notes and documentation for school nurses and school mental health professionals. I built a small MVP for them. They started sharing it across their colleagues, et cetera. And then we figured out that we had a company there. So we built the technology. We provided it for free for around 6 months as we really honed in on the hallucinations of AI and the user experience and that type of a thing until we really productized it and were bullseye on the physical therapy and behavioral health space. So those are really the two areas we've been focused on. Obviously, we're going to go through PT and very specific domain use case today. But that was really the origin of finding a problem in the marketplace, becoming obsessed with it, and really trying to help people. So the mission of our organization is we help the people that help people. You know, nobody thinks about the mental health of their physical therapist or their doctor or their mental health therapist. They think they have it all together. But people don't understand the toll that bringing home work takes on the family and, frankly, the profession. So we're here to help them.
Yeah, I love the way you're approaching this. And for those of you listening, I think you may relate to this too. All too often, people are so interested in jumping into what their product does. This is what my product does. This is what it can do. I want to know, how does your product help me? Like, how does it actually help me be the better me? How, when I look at everything that we do here on our side of the fence, I'm constantly asking and challenging my team, my development strategic players. How do we develop something that's of better assistance to the people actually doing the work, actually clinically owning these practices, being clinical managers? What some of it's services, some of it's training, right? And so you looked at this from that same perspective, like how can I help the quality of life of the people actually being physical therapists on a day in and day out basis? So here's a little benchmark. As we move through this, quality of life to me has always been if I can treat 12 visits a day, 12 to 14 visits a day is pretty typical in a PT clinic. 12 to 14 visits a day, and can I walk out within 60 minutes of my last patient? If I can do that, notes done, codes in, buttoned up, everything chair pushed in, I'm out the door within 60 minutes of my last patient. I'm really doing well. But after meeting you, I'm believing that that's a long time to wait. It's what it sounded like. So to discuss for me why or how this actually works. Let's talk about the how it works. Because I think a lot of people may be thinking like it's more like transcription or like dictation. And from my time with you, it's not like that at all.
Right. Great point. Yeah, the how it works is really important, but what happens with data is also really important. So I
Yeah.
want to get into the weeds of how do we ask vendors the right questions around how their
Yes.
data is being used. But let's talk about the tactical, because I think that will lead into some of that. So essentially, our platform can work in one of two ways. One, it can literally follow you around and listen to every conversation that you have as you're treating patients. It converts those conversations into a transcript, and then the AI actually analyzes that transcript to fill out any type of note or document that you need to. Now, progress notes are one thing, but treatment plans are another. Discharge plans are another. Other types of documentation that are more complex. So we capture the potency of the initial intake as well as the subsequent appointments as well. And we even look at the chart history of that particular patient to make sure that we're creating that golden thread of documentation so that the measurable objectives that are identified from the treatment plan are are caught in the conversations that are being had while treatment is happening and subsequent appointments to map the progress which is required for reimbursement. So AI listens to the conversation, it extracts information out and builds a note or document telling the clinical truth of what's required for reimbursement.
Okay, so the how is pretty cool. So I walk into the treatment room. Hey, Betty Smith, how are you doing since the last time I saw you? Let's just consider this a revisit. She tells me a little subjectively, well, ever since you treated my knee, my walking's been this, my stair climbing's been that. Okay, that's really good. Let me get my hands on it. Okay, it's feeling a little boggy here, a little tight there. Let's go ahead and address this. I'm thinking grade 2, blah, 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 sprain, strain, tendonitis, patella tendon, whatever it may be. And I'm talking with my patient. I'm talking out
Right.
loud, doing my thing. And I'm like, okay, let's start with some manual therapy. Let's go ahead. Let's work on some therapeutic exercises. Let's talk about a little bit of a long-term home program. And now let's set you up for the rest of the session. I'm going to move into my next patient. Thank you, Betty Smith. So great seeing you. I walk out, AI, your system is doing what at that moment? Like it just heard the whole conversation. What does it do next? Does it composes the transcript, right?
Right. It creates the transcript. And then based on the template, right, that you've selected, you want to use, whether it's a SOAP note, a treatment
Yeah.
plan, a pain assessment, whatever,
Yeah.
the AI will take that transcript and then fill out every section of that particular document by extracting meaning from the conversation.
Gotcha. Now, that's the how. Now, at the end of it, let's just assume my day rolls on like that.
Yep.
Um, at what point typically are your therapists putting eyes on the document and signing off on, yep, that's exactly what I meant to say. That's exactly how I remember it. Are they doing that throughout the day in between patients, or are they going at the end of the day and just popping up one after another throughout and just clicking good, good, good? What's your experience?
Well, both. It really depends on the interoperability and workflow of the particular practice, right?
Okay.
How do they operate? How much time do they have in between patients? How many are they seeing at one time? Are they going patient to patient to patient? Are they working like very specifically? Depends on the modality of the practice, right? And what they're doing there. But either way, so after an appointment, you click finish, the transcript can be saved, or you can generate the note right there. and push it right into your EHR. That's an option.
Okay,
Um,
so so the transcript's not in the EHR. The transcript's sitting outside of it. I hit it's good, save. It can import it into, let's just say I'm using one of these EMR systems. I don't want to call any out to be biased, but any one of them, the popular ones that we like. And it just does it, puts it right into their account.
Correct. Yes. If there's an integration set up, and we could talk about, what that looks like at a high level, but the narrative portion of your note is complete, and you can either copy paste it right in or click a button and it goes right in. So really your option there.
Okay, so
Um,
you're saying if it's integrated with, because your system may not be integrated with every EMR
right.
system, right? But the ones that it is, it's click a button, boom, done. The ones it's not that hard either. Copy, paste, done.
Right.
And as a therapist, I know what my treating style would be if I was setting anybody up or they had any independent and I had some time away from my patient, I would want to do my notes so I didn't get behind. So I could quickly do that right then. And then, of course, at lunchtime, it takes a human being 15 minutes to eat. I have a whole 1 hour lunch. I can get all my notes done and I roll into my 1 o'clock, 1:30, note free.
Correct.
That's about what you're experiencing.
Yeah, and even some will pull us up on their mobile phone. So in between, so
Huh.
let's say you did all your sessions, you're having lunch, you're scrolling your phone, you can see the notes that were generated and convert those right over from your device. So
Wow. So
it's
phone, iPad, laptop, doesn't matter.
correct. It's device agnostic in that regard. Yeah.
Wow. Is this web based?
It is web-based. The iOS app will be out really soon once we get through Apple's approval process, which is lots of fun, as you can imagine.
Yeah, like a slip and slide. Let's see. So I could actually do this from home too.
Right.
Very good. Very interesting.
Now we
Okay. So
covered the
that's the
first
how.
way. That's the way number one. Way number two is think of it as if now either you and or all your staff have their own personal therapeutic scribe. So
Okay.
if you or they aren't comfortable with the ambient conversation being captured
Yeah.
after the appointment, you can say, met with Betty Sue. We worked on, her knee pain. We did XYZ exercises. This is the homework that I gave her. We're going to meet next week at 2 o'clock. Boom. Tell that to the AI and it'll extract what you say and put it into the note of the document as well. So either way, but you have your own personal AI scribe. And then if we get into some more of the advanced functions during configuration or setup, you actually can build your own templates and the AI will model how you speak and how you write for what purpose of practice you have. So we're empowering clinicians to utilize AI for their specific use case and a style of writing and documents that are being created, and they can either talk to it or have it listen to the live conversation or a combination. So it's really about empowering clinicians for the future of medicine, which has AI involved in it, and you gaining that skill. It's going to be required moving forward. So we're empowering each organization to model it to work with the way that they work.
I love it. I love the way you present that because, 1,000 years ago or so, pen and paper helped human beings log and record everything they did. Recently, we've adopted laptops and mobile devices to assist us in what we do. And now you're saying we're going to use this AI platform to assist us, not to replace us
Right.
or to do for us, but to assist us in our construction of our notes and documentation such that it saves us time. And from what I saw through meeting with some of your clients, it enhances my accuracy and my time management is obvious. I said it saves us time, but it also assists me in my accuracy because it's actually pulling exactly what I said. So there's nothing I forgot. It's catching.
Right.
I mean, if I'm using the ambient conversation piece,
Yeah.
but let me ask you, an owner or two might be thinking this right now, listening to us. Is there an accuracy difference between the two, between extracting from the conversation, the ambient, or doing my own personal scribe? Obviously, my own personal scribe is doing exactly what I said, but I have a human mentality where I got to remember what I want to say into this, and I could have forgotten it. Whereas in the conversation, it picked it up. Do you know what I'm saying? Is there
Yeah. So the potency of the conversation is not lost when it's capturing it ambiently, right? It doesn't miss anything in that regard. The raw transcript is there and it's extracting things. Now, you may have wanted to extract a little bit of different meaning from something. Well, that's where we can help you personalize the AI, where you can go in and tell the AI, you need to look for this because Blue Cross requires that, or Medicaid requires this, or whatever. You tell your scribe through the template what
Mhm.
you want it to capture based on your professional opinion and license and requirements of reimbursement. And then it will look for that every time. It works for you. So, we have some templates out of the box that are strong, but there's
Mhm.
going to be, variances of documentation that are needed based on your reimbursement profile, right?
Yeah.
And the way that you document. So we empower that.
I I I love that too. I mean, it sounds like I'm like a, clinic notes AI fan, but I'm really just trying to be objective. Being a clinician, I love to document functional improvements. I love to document patient was only able to do this week one. Now we're into week three. The patient's able to function at this level. So in my conversation, I'm like, oh, I remember when you first came in, you weren't able to put your clothes on a hanger and get them on the hanger rack. Oh yeah, I can do that. As a matter of fact, I can even get my seatbelt now with that arm. I don't have to twist and use my other arm. Hey, that's fantastic. You're now, patients now able to don and doff seatbelt with left arm instead of twisting and using the right. So I would in my mind, I would be this like conversing, throwing in these objective functional outcomes or improvements as the conversation is taking place.
Right.
And I know I don't have to go back and say, oh, did I test them for functional independence? I actually did.
Yeah. So in your template, you would put a section named functional improvement, and you would tell the AI in the template, look for functional improvements, include a quote and evidence for every selection that you make. Tell that to the AI. It's going to extract that right out of the transcript and conversation
Yeah,
about the
I love
seatbelt
that.
or the hanger or whatever.
I
So
love
we
that.
enable we enable our customers to do that, to create that consistency across the board.
I love that. I love that. I've never been the therapist who's all excited about, oh, my patient went from 10 reps to 15 reps, went from 3 sets to 5 sets. Who cares? I
Right.
don't care about that. I want to know as a result of them doing that, what are they doing differently in life because of that?
Yeah.
And
Their
I can
life
get
up.
that right in the treatment room through the. So, and then having your own personal scribe. Now, we all know that AI can make mistakes, can input maybe the wrong thing and thinks it's doing the right thing. So we as therapists have to check our work, right? Is that extensive checking of our work? Is it quick glance and we see it? I mean, how do you give me feedback? Because, like I said before, nothing's perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. Humans aren't perfect. This isn't going to be perfect. So there must be a correction margin, 5% of notes, 10%, something. I don't know how you want to quantify it, but I know people are probably wondering, like, well, how closely do I have to police this? The last thing I want is my note going out saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the fact of the matter is that AI does hallucinate. That's what we call it, right? Where it can make something up. So what we've seen it do in the past from time to time, we've corrected a lot of it, and we'll talk about, how to review that. But if you put a name, label in the template, the AI thinks it needs to put a name in there. Well, if there wasn't a name given, it says John Smith. It just puts it in there, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes that can happen. We've worked really hard to reduce the amount of hallucinations on the AI technical side. I'm not going to get in the weeds of that, but there's techniques to take when you train and what they call fine tune AI to reduce those. It's not perfect yet, nor will it ever be absolutely perfect, but it's going to get you 95% of the way there, right?
Hmm.
It's going to get the majority of things done, and it's not going to hallucinate to the point where it's going to totally make up some injury and something that really didn't happen. It's going to be like peripherally around kind of what happened if you see some nuance there. Its purpose is to help with reimbursement, and it's looking for things that align with requirements across the board for why we have to document.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. And I could envision like somebody's talking about getting injured while skiing, but you didn't say if it was water skiing or snow skiing. You kind of, that's a little bit on the human side of it, right?
Right.
Like, think about it. Like, somebody's trying to make a note from what you're saying, and you got to be a little more descriptive. But you said that's part of if I were to hire clinical notes AI, that's part of my training. You teach us that
Right.
to think. Okay. Very, very good. All right. Well, good. Why don't we let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to ask you because I'm so excited to get right into the demo. I want people to see the demo and hear the demo. I'm trying to think if I was an owner. Let's just cover this before we do the demo. they may say, well, what about privacy? What about
Yeah.
private information? Who's seeing it? Where is it being saved and stored? I'm worried about the AI listening to every piece of my conversation. I mean, to what degree do we have to
Yeah.
cross that bridge?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, well, first of all, I did want to say that the acceleration for AI in medicine right now, a lot of it is being fueled by the payer industry. They are using AI to read your manual note and documentation submissions. There's
Huh.
lawsuits going on about this today, on the insurance side, because the denials and clawbacks have gone way up. So if we're still an organization, right, that are doing manual notes and documentation, we're a bit of a disadvantage to the payer. So that's been the acceleration
So
of
let
this.
me just stop you there. So you're saying if I have 10 offices where the therapists are still manually documenting notes, and I have 10 offices where they're using clinical notes AI to assist them in the completion of their notes and documentation and review of their documentation, we're both submitting our notes in. Let's say Blue Cross, let's just pick on them. Blue Cross is using AI to scrub every submission, obviously with the intention of not wanting to pay. I'm just going to say it. I know they try to make it like it's all they're angelical about it, but they're not. They're trying to look for reasons not to pay. Maybe the minutes didn't match the units, or the units didn't match the time, or the documentation didn't match for whatever reason. The AI is not able to. This is where I'm going. The Blue Cross Blue Shield AI is looking for those mixed match, those mismatch kind of things. It's not reading the note and saying, "Oh, you should have said something more here. We're denying the claim." It can't
I
really
think
tell
it
that.
might be. And again, I don't know specifically Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I want to be careful there. But there
Yeah,
are a couple of, insurance companies that
hypothetically.
are using this, right? So essentially, it's looking for that golden thread. So for example, we worked with Austin Physical Therapy Group, okay, which use it as an example. He's allowed me to tell the story. They're approved for 13 sessions, okay, for a particular, I think it was a knee injury or something. In the treatment plan, they noted what progress would be and what they would be doing throughout the follow-up sessions. In, I think, about 5 of his notes or documents, the treatment that was provided wasn't specifically listed in the treatment plan. They denied coverage and clawed back 4 months later those particular points based on the note. So the AI, it has, and brings a lot of efficiency. So the insurance companies are using it to say, I have 20,000 claims here. Our standards are what's in the progress note has to match the treatment plan. AI has the ability to look at the treatment plan and look for discrepancies in the note or the document. So, with Clinical Notes AI, we actually hold on to that treatment plan and look for what's being done in the session to properly map that. So, AI brings efficiency. So if they set their standards and they put it in the AI, it's going to look for non-compliance to that standard in your note of documentation. So by using an AI platform like this, you create that consistency and you tell it what you want it to put in every note and map on a consistent basis based on the premise for treatment and reimbursement, which is the treatment plan that they approved. So it can create that consistency across all the documentation.
Wow, that's crazy. So I'm going to ask a specific question, and you're totally free saying I don't know the answer to that because it's too specific. But when I would do my documentation back when, I would always write, let's say I had a total knee replacement and I'm working with this patient on gait training, therapeutic exercise, manual therapy techniques, local modalities to monitor, manage pain, swelling, and radiculopathy, or whatever. I didn't list muscle energy, strain counter strain. I didn't list therabands or new step, or I didn't specify the type of therapeutic exercise, nor did I specify the type of manual therapy. But as a blanket statement in my plan of care, I'm like, I'm doing manual therapy, therapeutic exercise, local modalities, massage or whatever. And then throughout the course of my treatment, I had free reign to throw in whatever I needed based on how the patient presented on that given day. Are you saying AI would have a problem with that on the payer side?
Well, what I'm saying is that the bar of documentation has risen a lot over time for
Huh.
many payers, right? Medicaid reimbursement does need to say a lot of that, right? That's a lot more aggressive. Now, maybe in Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're good with generic manual versus, not. So it really depends on the payer. But I will say that the level of detail that's being required in medical documentation has risen dramatically
Wow.
in what's required.
Wow, wow, that's interesting. Wow. But when you're using clinical notes, it'll take that plan of care and it'll ensure that as you're doing your soap notes that it pulls forward and checks those two.
Correct.
Wow.
And we'll demo that today.
Let's do it. Let's do
All
it. So
right.
that was my big question. Like, I know it's being used I don't know if I should say the right word is against us, but it's being used to hold us accountable. It's definitely being used
That's much,
to
yeah,
take a
that's well
positive
put.
look at it. It's to increase the level of accountability. And look, I know there's lazy therapists. I've seen him. I've seen those. Continue per plan of care. Treat. I mean, continue treat. I mean, I've seen so many. I'm like that. You can't
Sure.
write that. You
Right.
gotta be more specific than that. So yeah, this door swings both ways. But accountable and responsible is what we have to be. Is accountable and responsible. If the insurance companies have a tool to try and hold in the accountability and responsibility on us, then why shouldn't we get a tool to hold it in on ourselves first so
Right.
that we don't have to hear from the insurance payers or the payers, the
Right.
third
And
party?
have all those peer reviews. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Who
that's
wants that?
important. We didn't
Yeah.
cover privacy. You asked that question. I don't want to be a politician and dodge that. So let's talk about that high level. HIPAA compliance is a self-reported regulation. Any company you work with, ask them for what's called a gap analysis. We use a real-time monitoring tool that monitors every one of our systems, our computer systems, our cloud systems, our AI, etc. That if we make a setting change, it flags us and says, hey, you're out of compliance. Ask your vendors for a HIPAA gap analysis to self-assessment. We provide them on a regular basis. We also need to put a business associate agreement in place. It's important you ask your vendors, do they have a sub BAA with the third-party vendors that they use to host data? For us, we actually put the choice of data retention in our clients' hands, in our customers' hands. So we have what's called a ZDR, which is a common term to know in AI today, that stands for zero data retention method. There's two types of things we store. One, or that we use. One is the transcript. So first of all, we don't capture any sound. The sound bite is gone. It converts the sound in real time into that transcript. You can't even access the audio file, if you will. It then temporarily holds on to that transcript as long or as little time as you want. So you can select zero data retention in our platform for the transcript, or you can have it retained if you save a note or document. The same thing with the generated output. So it's really up to you and the sensitivity and the security policies of your organization for how you want data to be stored in a third-party system. We're fully HIPAA compliant across the board there and take the security measures seriously. But best practice is if EHR is your record, is your system of record for the medical record, keep it there. Use a platform like ours to generate your notes and your documents and keep it in the EHR. Really, I think that's probably best practice.
I mean, that's what I would do. I would just use it, get my transcript, have it import into my EHR, and then I would delete. I would
Right.
delete I wouldn't let anything else be sticking around. So that's the simplest, easiest way. Well, good. That buttons that up. I think that's really great. Let's demo this baby. Let's show
Yeah, let's
people
do
how
it.
this works.
All right. I'm going to share my screen here.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay. All right. Are you good? Can you see it? I'm going to kill my
Yeah.
camera while I'm doing this just because sometimes it's a little slower. So I'll do that. Let's jump in.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to
this
do
is
that too so everybody can focus on that screen.
great. So this is our main UI. When you log in with our platform, it's going to ask you to pick a profession. So I have physical therapist chosen here. If you're doing any supervision of non-licensed therapists or aides, you can actually put their emails in here. And essentially, our platform will send you their notes and documents as well for your review and signage of your license. So in this particular case, I'm going to put PT in here for a custom document. Now we're going to choose the type of document that we want to create to capture. So we're going to do a physical therapy pain assessment. So I'm going to click on this here, and I'm going to treat this as if this is a telehealth session, but we are in a virtual PT office. I'm going to hit live session with patient consent. And now I'm going to choose the screen where the sound is happening. Okay, it should be able to hear you. Can you say testing?
Testing.
Look at that. We're good. All right, I'm ready to be your patient.
Oh my gosh. So I'm the patient.
No, I'm the patient.
Oh, I'm so
You're
sorry.
the PT, and
All right, good.
then I have an injury, and we're going to mock what happens in a session here based on my pain.
All
So
right. So let me take care of you like I took care of some family members over the 4th of July, just this past 4th of July. So Ross, you said you're having some right-sided neck pain and it's affecting just under your right shoulder blade. When did that start?
yeah, well, I played football when I was young. I'm 35 now, but I played football from Pop Warner all the way through, and you know, injured my neck then, and then about it was fine. I thought that it healed, and then around 5 years ago, I was rear-ended, and I was in a neck brace for a little bit. I did some PT, but it's been 5 years, and I thought it was fine. But recently, when I turned my head to the right, I just get like this pain shooting down, my spine on the right side.
And is that pain burning pain, pins and needle pain, achy pain? How would you
It's just
describe it?
it's just really sharp, like
Sharp. It's
you
like a
know,
sharp pain. And
right.
what do you do that makes it worse? And what are you doing that makes it better?
Yeah, well, not moving my head makes it better. I don't feel it.
Okay.
But yeah, when I turn my head a certain way or tilt it, to the right, then yeah, I get the pain there. I don't know what's going on.
So at rest, give me a number on a 0 to 10 pain scale, with 10 being the worst. And when you turn your head and you elicit that pain, what does it go up to?
Yeah, probably starts at a 4 and can get up to an 8 or 9, where I can't even turn my head anymore.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Is there anything that you do, medication, heat, ice, massage, anything you're doing to try and help it currently?
Yeah, well, I try to use a Theragun sometimes, to loosen some things up around there. And then, yeah, just taking a leave actually does help a little bit. So some naproxen there.
Okay, good, good. And prior to, you said, this recent episode, which you said was what? When did this recent episode start?
Well, this has been going on for around 2 weeks now, but
Two
I
weeks.
think, because of some of my past injuries, it's life just catching up with me.
Sure. So you've got this, past medical history, but as of around July 1st, you've been wrestling with this. Okay, good. So I'm going to want to bring you back and do some tests and measures and palpate the area. And from what you've told me and from what my findings are, I'm going to put together a plan of care and we're going to start working on this condition here today. And we'll go ahead and schedule you out a full plan to alleviate and remedy this situation in the quickest order. Hopefully, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have you wrapped up. Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So that would be my subjective, really.
All right. So I'm
And I
gonna hit.
could ask about sleeping and walking and talking, but I
Yeah,
didn't want
yeah.
to
I
drag
have been,
this on.
just to give it a little data, I have been struggling sleeping. It has been, bothering me a little bit.
Okay.
And
How about with lifting? I'm sure it gets worse when you lift.
yeah, yeah. I can't turn my head all the way around when I reverse my car, so I'm relying on the camera now. But
Okay.
all right. So let's finish. So I finished that. So what it's doing right now is converting what we said into a transcript. So think of this as speech to text technology. If you're back to back to back, like we said earlier, you can hit this save for later button, and then you can come back to do the notes either on your phone or
So
whatever.
everybody who's listening, his screen has now gone to a white screen and he's got a spinny wheel where it's converting the conversation into text, like he said, text to type.
Yep.
And he has a button there that if you don't want to wait for the spinny wheel to finish, you can just click save for later and move on. But actually, it's been just a few seconds here and it looks like it's already done.
Yeah, it's done. So we're going to grab the patient. So if you're integrated with the EHR, that will be here, but we're going to call this Brian Ross test. Okay. So we'll create that client here. We'll just call this pain. Now, there's a section here that says add clinical context. If there was a treatment plan in place, it would have automatically grabbed that treatment plan and mapped our subsequent, appointment to that treatment plan. If you want to add additional clinical context on your own after the patient leaves your office, you can talk to the AI here by dictating information to it for it to prioritize when it's building your note or document. We're not going to do that right now, but we're going to generate this. So now it's going to write this pain assessment. But let's say that we wanted to create an initial treatment plan as well from this same appointment. I can click on generate additional documentation here. We'll find another PT one here. So we're going to do a PT treatment plan. So now we'll just call this treatment plan. And if I wanted to give it more information, there's a guide here that'll tell you what should the home exercise plan be, what specific exercises, sets of repetition, etc. We're not going to name that, and it's going to use best practice based on what we just discussed. So we're going to generate that too. So now we're doing a treatment plan here. So let's review this pain assessment that just happened.
So for everybody listening, all he did is he clicked on a couple boxes on the observation page and to create a treatment plan. And he could have clicked on any, objective things that he wanted to add to that objective plan. And that was really quick. So now that he had that populated, he's moving back to what? The pain assessment?
So yeah, this is the pain assessment document. And this is my own custom template that lists, the question, please describe your pain. And it grabbed what, I said. It says right here, I have a right-sided neck pain that affects just under my right shoulder blade. When I turn my head to the right, I get a sharp pain shooting down my right side.
Okay, so wait a minute. So the AI did that sentence. It looked at your question, please describe your pain. And from our conversation, it constructed that sentence.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So here's a checkbox. One, is the pain occasional? If so, how often? Yes. And then it gives its evidence as to why it selected yes right here for you.
Ah, look at that. So it says, is your pain occasional? Again, this is a pre-written question that I would have put together for my own pain assessment document that I want to use as a PT, correct?
Correct.
And you mine may not be the same as somebody else's, correct?
Correct. So you can actually take out of your EHR, if you export a blank assessment or SOAP note or treatment plan, you can upload it into our system and it will build this automatically for you and answer all your questions for you.
Oh, so I don't even have to type these out. I could just use a template that I'm already using in my EMR system and just pull it over.
Correct. And we help with that during onboarding. Okay.
And you know what's nice about that is if I've been treating a while, I know my style of questioning. I know the order of questions I want to ask. I know how I'm constructing my deductive reasoning to conclude the most accurate diagnosis I can for what I'm observing, questioning, testing. So this can be my custom fit template. So as I'm having my conversations, I'm naturally going to follow this flow because this is the way I think.
Right. Gotcha. And the good news is it doesn't matter what order your template's in. The AI is going to grab information from the beginning, middle, and end of the conversation to fill out any question that's there.
Oh, good. So if I, for whatever reason, forget to ask about type of pain, and I think of it at the very end, okay, gotcha.
Right. So here it's showing sleep problems here. Does your pain disturb any of the following? It's selecting sleep here, etc. So it's just going through the standard pain assessments here. So it says, what have you tried to treat the pain? Select all that apply. Medications said Aleve, and then in parentheses it put naproxen, and then other treatment, it put in here that Theragun that I mentioned.
Yes, but up above that, it says, does the pain make you feel depressed? Do you have a history of depression? I didn't ask you those questions.
Right. You didn't ask me those questions, but it didn't have the information, so it automatically selected no.
Okay, so it just defaulted to no.
Right.
Okay, you can program it. My template, I would know to ask those questions, but I was a little sensitive. I didn't want to throw too much into it for the demo, but I can see you can actually ask everything you want.
Right. And the nice part is for every template that you create, the AI will generate a list of questions for you to ask your actual patient. So it'll convert that for you and guide you as you're having those conversations and guide your clinicians. So this is the high level pain assessment. Now, it doesn't have any analysis in here, which is fine because I didn't ask it to do analysis. That's where we get into the treatment plan and the SOAP note. So what we're going to do is we'll scroll back to the top and look at the other document we generated, which is the PT treatment plan. But let's say we also wanted to do the SOAP note. You could do that from here, which we'll do in just a second. But let's look at the actual PT treatment plan here. So, and this is just a generic template again. So here it's going to go through summary evaluation findings. So relevant medical history, it's going to list that out right here so you can see what it wrote. Played football from a young age through high school, resulting in neck injury, rear-ended in car accident 5 years ago, leading to neck brace and previous physical therapy, right? Current symptoms, it broke all these out for us. So it put pain level at rest as 4, increasing to 8 to 9 with movement. So we can just kind of scroll through this. I don't know if you want to call any of this out as we're going down. So
it's just I'm so surprised at how comprehensive it is. I mean, it's stating treatment goals. It's, concluding a diagnosis. It's reported on the history. It's amazing. It's really good.
Yeah, you didn't say anything about this.
Mm-hmm. Cervical radiculopathy. Did I say it's going from your head down to your shoulder blade?
You did.
Yeah. And so it concluded that as a radiculopathy.
Right. And that's also why it's important for you to review this. I would ask you directly, do you agree with this?
Yeah, right. It could have been muscle guarding and not a radiculopathy, but I would see that and it would trigger me to either support or, replace.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
So listed patient education, educated patient, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here, it's got some goals here. So it's going to pick best practice on the goals, even though we didn't talk about goals. Right. So these potentially should be goals that you should use in a treatment plan based on our conversation.
Yeah. Reduce neck pain to 0 on a 8-week time frame. Improve sleep quality so it's uninterrupted for 7 to 8 hours per night within 8 weeks. These are all very reasonable goals. Improve short-term goal, increase cervical range of motion for rotation by 20% within 2 weeks. Improve sleep quality 5 to 6 hours within 2 weeks. Decrease pain 2 to 3 within 2 weeks. So it really does break it down incrementally where you want to be in 2 to 3 weeks, where you want to be in 8 weeks. That's really good. Frequency of plan of care. I didn't even state that, but it said 2 visits per week. So I could quickly change that to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, this is all editable.
But if I said it, that's the thing. I didn't want to say too much, but I can see that would really help my notes for sure.
And when you're doing a treatment plan, dictate to it. So talk to it and say, my recommended level of care is X, Y, Z. Right. We want to do X, Y, and Z when it's building this. We let the AI choose on its own, measurable goals that align with reimbursement.
Right.
So now it's saying treatment procedures. So therapeutic exercise, improve strength and flexibility, etc. And then it's choosing modalities. So it's recommending heat therapy here and why, and electrical stimulation to manage pain and reduce spasms.
Yeah.
And then it even built us a nice little home exercise plan.
Yeah, specific exercises, neck stretches, 3 sets, 10 reps, twice a day. Strengthening exercises of cervical spine, 3 sets, 10 reps, twice a day. Wow, this is good.
So if I save this, watch what happens when I'm going to do my SOAP note now. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to generate a really quick SOAP note here. I know we're getting close, so let's do our SOAP note. Now, when I generate this SOAP note, notice I can now add a document, which is the treatment plan here. So I can add this file. Now the treatment plan is here as clinical context. So when it writes this next note, it's going to look at the treatment plan for potentially what happened in the actual session. So it's going to try to map those together, which is typically a reimbursement requirement.
So it's going to map together the treatment plan with what?
With the SOAP note. So for example, if we were in a subsequent appointment where you were following what the treatment plan said, the AI would look at the exercises or the treatment modality that was outlined in the treatment plan for evidence of that in the next appointment to map that into the note.
Hmm. Interesting. So I bring you back for your follow-up appointment, and it's pulling forward everything from the treatment plan, and it's correlating that to whatever's being said in the treatment room at that next appointment.
Correct.
Great.
Here's your
That
soap
way
note.
there, that way there, the third party AI reviewer can't pick it apart saying, oh, you're now going off the rails doing things that weren't included in your treatment plan. That's why it does this.
That's accurate.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So, yeah, here's your soap note here. And then it even pulled CPT codes, ICD codes. And these are all suggestions.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And now it says here, okay, so it lists some possible CPT codes based on what I said I would do to treat you. It lists the ICD-10 codes based on what I said my findings were. Explain this third section where it says evidence for CPT and ICD-10 codes. What did you guys do here? Did you guys actually build something to try and support why it's selecting what it's selecting?
Yeah, so we're providing evidence so that the AI has to search for evidence as to why it selected each particular code. We trained it on the CPT and ICD-10, and it is searching its own database to say this is why I selected each one of these codes.
Wow.
So that
That's awesome.
you as the clinician need to make the determination if this is accurate or not, but it's going to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I may have selected the code for functional stability, and it may be saying I'm selecting therapeutic exercise for muscle strengthening. I
Right.
get it. I mean, this is where I have to, put my eyes on it just to make sure it's
And, and
replicating what I want.
and your team, right, of clinicians may have missed the billable code,
Oh,
right?
right, right. That's true too.
So yeah, so this plan here it pulled right from the treatment plan, so you can see that this is an alignment.
Wow.
And then it's going to give action items. Now, one other thing I want to show you. So we're done with the SOAP note here. When you go into your patient section in my platform or in Clinical Notes AI, there's a patient information section. There's a summary here. So let's say you're back to back to back, or you have different aides that are going to different offices to help other patients or clients. They can actually click on the patient information here. Instead of having to read the entire chart, our platform will actually read the chart and provide a summary and next steps for the physical therapist. So you can catch up quickly on a client or a patient before you meet with them.
Hmm. It's a quick synopsis of where we're
Right.
at. I love it, Ross. It's really good. And
Thank
it's
you.
fast. And it's fast. And I love the simplicity of it. It's not hard to read. It's very cut and dry. There's not a whole lot of stuff on the page other than what you've said and done. Um, yeah,
Well,
if it were me, I'd be doing this after each and every session. I wouldn't wait to the end of the day and first look at my notes. I'd be getting this done throughout my day.
right. And here's the beauty of it is you can get it done throughout your day, but you're not doing point of care documentation that distracts from the relationship between the
Yeah,
clinician and the patient. And I think
yeah,
that's a really important component. So I've stopped my
yeah,
share now,
yeah. Me
uh,
too.
but yeah, so that's a general overview, and the proof's in the pudding, which is why, we believe that you should do a trial and look at more than one system, right? We're confident in the value that we can deliver in the style we deliver it, but that may not work for you, and that's okay. And that's why, we offer the trial, but we want to hear your feedback so that we can incorporate it.
So if I'm a practice owner and I'm like, I'm not sure how my therapists are going to feel about this, is there a way for me to dip my toe in the water and test the waters and see if my therapists are okay with it? And then if they are, we keep it. If they're not, we unplug it.
Yeah, great point. And the thing about this technology is it's a pull, not a push, right? most technology has been pushed on clinicians that add to desktop medicine, which adds to burnout. This is designed to do the opposite, but it's up to their choice, right? We're typically getting around 85 to 90% adoption on initial trial. So you can set up a trial, say, hey, we got this trial to everybody. We're looking at AI in our business. It's up to you if you want to try it. There's an onboarding call, and then we do a training that we record and provide to your team. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you say, hey, I know I had 50 clinicians, but we're only going to do 30 licenses to start. No problem. You can grow it or reduce at any pace you like.
Wow. Wow. I can only imagine the feedback you must get if I'm using this AI for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then my owner's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna pay for the licenses. I think we're gonna take a I think you would get a little bit of a pushback from your staff being like,
Right.
what are you kidding? I mean, I think that's what the owner's looking for. Is this worth my money to put this in the hands of my therapist or not? Right. I mean, that's what they're trying to figure out, because you don't want to buy something with the best intentions, but then your therapist don't use it.
Right. And is the juice worth the squeeze? Right. That's the main question is what are so objective or sorry, independent of the technology, what are the business outcomes we're looking for? And agnostic of the company, can we accomplish those goals that align with the efficiency of my practice? Those are the questions to ask, right? Is it acceleration on billing? Is it working on burnout for your clinicians? Is it recruiting in a competitive market? What are the potential benefits that this category of technology can bring? And then during my trial, how do I run that and measure that and survey that at the end to make sure I'm hitting the bullseye before I buy or before I renew it at the end of the contract? So those are important components to consider.
That's amazing. I guess if I was in clinical practice, I would sit down and write a pros and cons list. How is this going to impact my clinician's admin time? How is this going to impact my revenue stream? Am I going to get paid faster? Am I going to capture codes that I might not have captured otherwise? Am I going to decrease, audits, denials, appeals, rejections, all that? You know what I mean? Is it going to help with my compliance of, the accountability, responsibility of my clinical care? I would have to go through that as a CEO and owner. And then the final test would be, let's put it in the hands of my clinicians and let them test drive it. If they love it, they're going to want to keep it. If they don't, then they won't use it. And I'm not going to
Right.
pay for it. So, all right, good. So, wow. So that's really cool. I think this really says a lot. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Is there any special offer we can offer people who are listening and subscribers of our podcast? Is there anything you want to say? No pressure on, anything you want to say about pricing and acquiring
Yeah.
this and
Our,
signing
we're
up with you and connecting with you, anything like that.
Yeah, we're fully transparent, and that's how I've designed the organization. Our pricing's right on our website. If you want unlimited notes and documentation and you want to just pay monthly without a contract, it's $60 per month per clinician. If you just want to provide an AI scribe that each one of your clinicians talk to, it's $15 a month if you pay a year in advance. So we have monthly and yearly pricing. All plans have a free trial. And if you have over 25 clinicians, you qualify for our enterprise pricing. Now, for the great followers of your podcast, Brian, and of Meg Academy, we've created a discount code that we're going to provide you for anybody who wants to sign up, who's listened to this podcast and or watch the demo. So we'll provide you that discount code that will work for their first year of contract for anybody that wants to sign up.
Oh, that's really generous of you. I really do appreciate that. You can honestly say to the crowd, like, I'm not involved in any of those discussions. My producer produces the podcast. She talks to Ross. They iron it all out. I try to stay out of all that stuff because I want people to do what their heart tells them. We've got thousands of people in the Meg family platform, whether they're doing Meg billing, Meg virtual front desk, credentialing, data migration, or Meg Academy. They're training their staff. They're training their clinical directors. They're training themselves how to be a CEO. We didn't get that in PT school. So it's really nice to know that the thousands of people that have been, part of our Meg family and winning can take advantage of this. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. And I'm very grateful for you giving your time here and sharing this. As Ross will tell you and anyone will tell you, I don't do anything in my podcast. I met him in an introductory Zoom a few weeks back just to see if we gelled and if it made sense, and it did. I then called one of his clients and said, "How does this work? Is it the real deal?" He said it is, and he happened to be a Meg client, so that was really great. And then here we are on this podcast and on this YouTube with everybody. So, genuinely speaking, I can honestly tell you, if I was in private practice, I would not go without a device or tool like this. Like Ross said, he's not the only game in town. By all means, shop other people who are doing similar things. But sometimes when you have the Home Depot of home improvement goods, there's no need to go to another box store, right? I mean, I never test out anything else. I'm like, I love Home Depot. It has everything I want. Apple computers, the same thing. I don't ever go to Office Depot or Staples for my computers. I go to Apple, I get my thing, I go home, I know I got what I wanted. So that's it for me, guys. I hope this was informative. I love having guest speakers on the podcast who can add value. My main thrust in life, for those of you who are listening, new listeners, old listeners, is to help every single person in private practice live a better life, live the life you've always envisioned for yourself, and do everything I possibly can to help improve the profession of physical therapy. It has been a wonderful profession for me. I hope it's a wonderful profession for you. Ross, thank you so much for entering this space and contributing to PTs. I'll let you have the final word. But other than that, everybody, you know how I feel. You should start each and every day expecting to do well. Ross, any parting words for everybody?
Well, this has really been a pleasure, and I'm honored to be here and to contribute to the space for the people that help people. And I look forward to partnering with, the Meg organization and Meg business, and with PTs in general. So just honored to be in the space and to add value. So thank you.
Perfect. And there'll be links below. There'll be ways to get a hold of Ross. Ross, is there anything you want to leave them with, like an email or your DNA, your cell phone, your social security number, anything at all that you want them to reach out to you with?
Yeah, my email is ross.young@clinicalnotes.ai. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I would love to have a conversation and partnership discussion with anybody that wants to. So,
and the website is
www.clinicalnotes.ai.
There you go, everybody. You've heard it from him. Like I said, write it down. You're going to remember this day in the future because this is a leading cutting edge thing. And I really think it's just going to get even better. I loved it when Elon Musk says, when you buy a Tesla, the day one when you park it in the garage is the worst the car will ever be. It's only going to get better from there because he just keeps improving it. And that's how I felt about this. I hope you guys feel the same. Stay tuned next week and for another podcast, and look forward to some YouTube sessions that are coming your way, episodes that are coming your way. I'm losing my words here. I am going to do a multiple series on myth busting for physical therapists in private practice ownership. I'm taking the opposite angle, all the things that you thought would be the way it is, and it doesn't quite turn out to be that way. I'm going to try and bust those myths and give you solutions so that you can thrive, not just survive in PT private practice. That's it, everybody. Start each and every day expecting to do well. We'll talk to you again next week.